Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We're going to continue our flight into this amazing Chinese world. It's about the language, it's about the culture, it's about the people living in there. So let's discover. So we talked about the ancestral worship. So if you see the smoke, the blue colored smoke coming out of your ancestor's tomb, that's a good sign. And that's a good signal to say that you are in your generation are going somewhere. That means the rank in the social status and most likely in the government. And okay, we're going to continue with this yan, the smoke signal. So now the yan becomes 烟雨濛濛 is descriptor of 雨, so I translate as smoky. And yan again related to fire because that's where smoke came from, right? And you can visualize that with this going upward, going hot air, kind of visual, like a visible air. And we have the bird's nest. The whole thing is a bird's nest hanging over a tree, under a tree. That's our symbol to mean it's the west. And then we have the ground, the soil underneath. So it's a very earthy picture. You have many elements in there, and the whole visual gives you a sense of. I probably can tell it from another side because I remember how when I grew up, when the sun is setting down, which is this character of the west means, if the sun is setting down to the west. And that's when the households are started cooking. I mean, back then, we don't have gas, right? We have to burn woods. So that's when the time of the day when families are burn woods, make probably the biggest dinner of the day, and have a lot of smoke. And that's when you can visualize that smoke. Okay, rain. Rain is very, like 雨 is the pronunciation, is a very visual way. So Chinese as logographical language sometimes are really easy to tell, but I don't like the contemporary explanation because contemporary wise, we can just see it as, okay, this is your slide door, this is your glass pane, and you can see the raindrops over there, okay, depicting the raindrops from your window pane. But I mean, as I learn more about this language, this is not our window or our glass door. Back then, there's no such living condition. This is not the space back then. So how could people create a character based on that? So this is a contemporary visualization of how to explain the rain. So now I know a little bit better about my original form of this language and how things are connected. And I can kind of abstract of the elements from it. I can tell a little bit more of, okay, definitely not glass pane, not your window, glass door, something like that. But okay, this is your upper limit, which is the sky. So this horizontal line means the sky. And then this downward pointing 3 strokes, that means the sky, something is downpouring, right? That makes a lot of sense. Something fallen from the sky. And then you have the raindrops in between to visualize, okay, it's the individual pieces that's coming downward. So this gives you a direction of going. And this is give you the elements, what it looks like. It's kind of misty. It's the individual particles floating in the air, so to speak. So, and it's going downward. So that's the rain, right? Okay, 蒙蒙. In English, I don't see very often. I probably never see, did I? Okay, if somebody knows, please remind me. Like English, do you have the exactly same sound and meaning words used twice? Do you say that? I don't recall that because I think this is one basic English 101 rule. It's like you use your words succinctly. If you express something already, you're not going to say it again, right? It's simply redundancy. It's not an efficiency in language. But in Chinese, we sometimes use exact same character, same sound next to each other, say it twice, we actually have a certain meaning to it. And it brings a certain rhythm and beauty to the language. So in this case, Yanyu, okay, smoky rain, you already kind of visualize that, right? And this language helps you to visualize that. Meng meng, also from the sound perspective, it's nice. And okay, if we dig a little bit deeper into the origin of the language, the meaning is also cute, so to speak. Okay, so this is our water sign. So basically it's kind of streams, right? It's dynamic, flowy stuff. And then in contemporary Chinese, we simplify it into 3 dots, down, down, upward pointing. So that's how we write it efficiently. And this is a simplification of the basically 3 branches of it. But if you can see in details, it's actually 5 strokes, the mainstream and the side branches, to depict the sense of something fluid flowing, right? So that's a water. And the right side is, okay, we have this plant. In our previous session, we have this plant too, but the plant is like 1 big one and 2 at the bottom. That's sometimes our placement of character as well. So if we have 3 grouped together, exactly the same symbols, this repetition means something. So it means heavily covered under, so it's a covered treasure, right? So it's 3 plants together. And if we have 3, it's always 1 big one, not exactly a big one, but 1 on the top, 2 at the bottom, right? That's a visually balanced way to place 3 things. But here, if we have 2 side by side, twice, it also gives you, like twice is enough to give you a group, the sense of, a bigger space rather than just single one, right? So twice, grasses over there. And okay, last time we also talked about this, right? So this is simply a space, a cover. So here is a cover over your head with the eye symbol to represent your whole head. And over here is a cover of this. This is actually our sign of domestic animal. Not exactly sure what that is. Probably it's a pig, because Chinese use a lot of pork in their cuisines. So most likely this is pig with a tail, right, with 4 legs. So that's also a visual way to mean, okay, some animal covered and with a grass on top of it. So I visualize it as a farm. So it's a barn, almost like. One day I'm going to visit American Midwest to see exactly how a barn looks like. So here is the domestic animal under the cover, kind of covered by the roofs of hay or some grass-based organic way of building. So that provides a cover, kind of a space, indoor space for the pig, supposedly. So this covering and with the water sign together, even if it's only a sound maker, we can make a sense. How? Why is it drizzle? That's okay. We got a water part, right? So it's something related to water. And if this is something covering, so on the right side, this covering of the animal below it gives you this sense of water. Imagine the water, the raindrops fallen on an object, and then it's going to bounce back, right, kind of to the space, kind of in the opposite direction. So imagine, okay, your car parked in the rain, and then the rain is going to bounce off the car, right, in all kinds. So it almost forms a cover of itself by the rain. So that's the kind of a visual of this water splash in the opposite direction. So instead of falling down, it's going in the opposite direction and creating this almost like a even more further smokier rain effect. So that is the smoky rain, drizzle translation. And I mean, the whole thing is this rainy, smoky, I mean, you got it, 烟雨濛濛, exactly like that visual. it's a smoky rain scene. And this become popularized by this novel's name. You can see 烟雨濛濛, that's the traditional way. Traditional Chinese, but it's not that different, right? Only this is written in this sense of West, the sun setting, evening dinner preparation, smoky, right? Only this is different, the original one. But it's a romance. It's kind of a Chinese chick flick back in the 1980s, and it was huge hit back then. Imagine China right after the 10 years Cultural Revolution, when people went through pretty tough life in their generation, like no higher education, and a lot of young people are required to spend 10 years out of their hometown, somewhere else, relocated, like forced relocation. And then, of course, everybody got mobilized in a sense of like a politically mobilized and holding some ideal, right? So your personal life are totally squashed. Like you cannot, like your career path is gone and your educational path is gone, and your even personal life, how are you going to build it? You're relocated, and probably out of, people don't speak the same language as you, like different dialects as you, and how are you going to relate in that new environment to people? So how are you going to basically living your very human life? So in the 80s, when things are changing backwards, switch back to normal, which is you can have education, you can have relationships, you can have your career, you can have your choice of your date, right? Dating back then is different from today too. But this kind of a love story subject become a huge hit. People are curious, like how people conduct themselves in some complicated relationship development, like all that become the hot topic back then. So this Qiong Yao is a famous writer back then. The romance writer came up a series of books, and there are series of TV shows or movies made from it. And like this 烟雨濛濛 is one of the better known, and it was like reproduced, put onto movie, big screen, or TV, small screen, for multiple times. As far as I know, 3 times. So played by different generations of, representing their ideal of gender beauty. And this is 1986 version. That's probably the better known version. All right, cashing to the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.